Alright, and welcome to the second video in the series of this demonstration of Charons Obol. I said I was going to slow it down a bit and show you a lot of stuff that's all in the interface. And I want to do a mid-game battle, so I have more spirit points to work with. So I'm going to add two, I might add a third unit as well. I haven't decided yet. Uh, But let's look at these souls. So I'm going to have, for the front line, I'm going to use the Life Horn. So Life Horn actually has a penalty to health, but in some ways this is also, it's still worth it. This unit, Life Horn, has some regenerative abilities, and what's really neat is, well, let's actually look at the unit. So here I can look at the souls that I haven't picked yet, but this other one here I can look at in detail at the units that I've already picked. So status is Lifeborn has friendship. So whenever this unit is healed, that the unit's allies receive 50% of that heal amount, but it's evenly split among all allies. So if I had two allies, they would each get one quarter instead of a single ally getting 50%. So it's a little bit easier to control if you have a party of exactly two, but certainly this is beneficial and very powerful for us party of any size. I've got these other tabs in the user interface. I can add equipment, which generally the stat point efficiency is better than just buying them directly. Uh, and some of them have other unique effects. Consumable items, they cost spirit points, but as soon as you use the consumable during battle, you get a refund on those spirit points. And so if you wanted to, you could even reinvest those spirit points on the fly. So friendship does work with health potions, so I might even get three of them. So three health potions. If Lifehorn needs to take a health potion, because I want Lifehorn to take most of the hits. I don't want Lifehorn to die, but I want Lifehorn to take enough hits, and I want it to be kind of balanced in such a way that that 50% heal is also put to good use. So it's kind of a little bit, how do you optimize this passive? It's pretty dynamic. You basically want Lifehorn to take a bunch of damage, and then you want the rest of your allies put together to take about half that much. That's like a perfect world scenario. Uh, but you gotta, whatever lemons they throw you, you gotta find the best way to make lemonade regardless. So you can't always get the completely optimal best case scenario, but we'll see what happens. So this character here, it's a bit of a hybrid. Lyneth Javel, it's a very bad pun. If you keep playing around with it, you'll notice that a lot of this game is based on bad puns, almost as much as Greek mythology. She's kind of, I mean, she's sort of based in my head anyway on like the hoplite, this kind of sort of prototype or archetype, I guess you could say. So she has ranged and melee, and she can she's going to spend some time in the front row and in the back row, and so she tends to take some hits. She tends to take more hits than a backliner, but she doesn't usually take as many hits as a frontliner would. But she has a couple of options. She has like a weak ranged attack that uses a minor action point, but only when she's in the front row, and that's called Harry. So that's one option if she wants to spend a lot of time in the front row. But her most powerful option is lunge. She has to be in the back row, and then she charges. And well, you have to raise both melee and range to get the full benefit because it does damage equal to twice the lesser value. So right now they're both at 18. It would do 36 damage with lunge. And well, next that uses up the major and minor action point. The next turn she can move to the back row again, but then she won't be able to lunge again until the third turn. So every other turn she has a very powerful attack that doesn't cost any magic, doesn't cost any mana points, but you can only use it every other turn, and you gotta sort of listen to the situation. Like maybe if you're in the front row, maybe just a basic ranged attack and then a harry. Or if you're a little bit lopsided because you have another soul like Minotaur, if your melee is slightly stronger, maybe you want to do melee and harry from the front row. So things like that, just depending on how you're spec'd, can determine a lot of stuff. But I'm setting up this party here. I want Lifehorn to have some health. I want to have some damage reduction and some damage reflection. Lyneth needs to, health is too important no matter who you are. I mean, it starts out very cheap and it gets more expensive as you go along. That little white number inside of the rectangle, that's how much it's going to cost to invest in the stat, how many spirit points you have to spend to raise it one more time, and then the hovering tooltip says what benefit do you get. So, like I said last video, Lyneth, any investment into ranged gives you an additional smaller benefit to melee and vice versa. So this is a very common feature in the way that I design the souls. Sometimes you get direct benefit from the stat that's just a flat increase multiplier, but a lot of times it just reworks one stat into something else, and it gives them all very kind of a different feel. So I put a lot of direct investment into the stats themselves. But let me just make use of some of these equipment. So in a full campaign, you would only have like maybe two or three to choose from at a time. Like in like events, and it's like either you take it or you leave it, and so you don't get to just you don't just get to you don't just get free choice. You have to listen to your shuffle luck. So best one for Lyneth is this Dory. It's +4 melee and +4 range, but then it computes, you'll see below that it computes that the total change is that she gets 6 melee and 6 ranged. So that's going to be good. So there's a Gladius, that's a one-dimensional thing that's just for melee, but as you see, it becomes that +6 melee becomes 5 melee and 2 ranged. And the bow is the ranged version of that. So that's all good stuff. What else do I need? I've got my 3 health potions, and I've got some defensive items. There's the classic buckler, and then, well, I can't resist a bad pun. What can I say? So, of course, there's also a buckler. They're just a buckle. So the buckler and then the buckle, which is not as good. And then if there's a buckle and a buckler, then yeah, well, obviously there has to be a bucklest. Bucklest. So yeah, sorry about that, but that's what I did. And now this life horn has 8 damage reduction. So most skills that deal damage, most of them reduce damage that scales just flat reduction. Like a basic melee and a basic range attack, you just subtract damage reduction directly from that, and you can temporarily double your damage reduction by guarding. But there are skills that partially or completely bypass damage reductions, and in some battles that'll be an important consideration. In other battles, damage reduction is a little bit more reliable, and it just really depends. So Lifehorn, to make use of Lifehorn's passage, Lifehorn actually has abilities that self heal, and those scale with magic. So and they cost mana points. So I don't want to use up all my spirit points, but I'm gonna go ahead. I've given Lifehorn some magic. I'm gonna give a magic staff, divine barrier. It kind of gives damage reduction that's based on your mana and your magic. And I'm running out of spirit points. I could help Lifehorn deal more damage by equipping a bastard spell sword, but I think I would like to just take along a mana potion because I'm really, really running out here of spirit points. So just one mana potion should be kind of plenty, I guess. And what else? I'm going to actually put a little bit into range, which might seem weird. It's Lifehorn is magical, but here's the skill that every magical unit gets homing bolts. It's like it's useless for Minotaur, so Minotaur doesn't get the skill, but all the magical characters, any soul that might get use out of this gets homing bolt for free. It has a couple of strong features and it has a couple of drawbacks. Well, the what's strong about it is it scales off of magic and it does not cost mana. So you're not completely out of luck when your mage runs out of mana points. But the drawbacks are it's a both action. It's a cost major and minor action point, and it averages your magic in your range. So you don't do the full 40 damage because it's not just magic; it's the average of those of magic in range. So Lifehorn at the moment has 40 plus 12 over 2. That'll be 26 damage for homing bolt. And another benefit is there's this mechanic called guarding that likes to interfere with your ability to hit targets. And homing bolt, as an additional benefit, it ignores that targeting restriction. So maybe we'll get to see it in action here. So notice that there's this battle log in the right side panel. There's these. I can switch to a different tab here. So these two units have no soul. Well, this one's an archer of cannon fodder. This is a knight of cannon fodder. So I actually looked this up. I've seen words spelled like this before, so I just ran with it. It's kind of European. It's kind of like British or Irish or something, but apparently you would pronounce that fooder. But I'm just gonna, for the pun value, it was intended as a pun, so I'm gonna pronounce it cannon fodder just because I can. But yeah, look at the unit info here. You click on a unit. This one right here is a generic ninja. It also has some unique abilities. One of them is it likes to poison people. Oh, you can see that there's that unit has 2 souls. The other one is on way. This is a mage who casts spells that deal damage based on the magic stat, and he's kind of a jerk. He kind of drains your will to live, basically, because he's the arch nihilist. He's just this. He's the arch nihilist because nobody else bothered to apply to the position. Because why would you when you don't care? But he drains your will. Basically, he like his spells are like disillusion. It's a compound action. It's major and minor, but it removes that enemy's minor action point and damages them. So it's really, really obnoxious when he does that. But that's his thing. The generic ninja, he has some poison damage. His Night Strike, he likes to swap rows. The generic ninja, that's his thing. He swaps rows a lot, and his Night Strike, it's like homing bolt in that it can ignore targeting restrictions based on guarding or not. So he's like sneaky, and he has his Venom Strike. The amount of poison scales off of initiative. So he can throw a lot of damage. He can stack a lot of damage, but it gradually ticks down over time. So it does more damage than typical, but you have time to mitigate it with healing potions when that happens. So I think we're in pretty good shape. So what happens is if you manage to kill one of your enemies, you get essence. And essence is kind of like experience points. So I've got a total of 858 essence, but my available spirit points is computed from that, and then you invest your spirit points. So right now I had a lot of spirit points, but I invested it all, so I can't spend any more. But if I get some more essence, then I might reach the threshold for more spirit points, and then get more spirit points and spend them. The other thing is, as soon as I use a potion, I get a refund on those spirit points. So in theory, I could reinvest. I think Lifehorn, I would like to raise that health a little bit higher, but right now it's kind of okay. All right, so what do I want to do? Right now, nobody is guarding. So the knight kind of completely derped their turn. They guarded, but when you attack, you lose your guard status. So he guarded, but then they got 2 turns in a row, probably because this generic ninja's initiative score is so high, they got a double turn, and the knight totally wasted it. He should have just kept guarding and let someone else take a turn, but that's okay. I'm keeping the AI just like super derpy for now. And I did lunge, and man, that did a lot of damage. I just killed the generic ninja outright. So the AI did not play that well at all. So you can see that 46 melee and 46 ranged. That's a lot of damage. That's 92, and then subtract twice their damage reduction. That's still way too much. They just didn't have a chance. He should have jumped to the back row immediately, but he didn't, and now he's paying the price. But Lifehorn, I mean, what else skills could Lifehorn possibly have other than Sparkle and Rainbow? I mean, obviously. So right now I cannot use Rainbow. So the reason for that is the Rainbow refunds your minor action, but if you still have your minor action point, then it can't be refunded. So you should Sparkle first. So Rainbow actually costs a mana point. It's a more powerful heal. It costs a mana point, and it's a self heal, and it refunds your minor action point. It's pretty useful, but you have to use it on yourself. But because of Lifehorn's passive, that heal bounces to your ally, so it's pretty good overall. Um, but So the passive ability kind of makes up for the fact that it's a self-target only skill. It's a very nice synergy there, because that's what you want to do. This character wants to heal itself so it can therefore heal everybody else. It's a very unselfish character. But let's raise Lifeform's health, and wow, it's a lot of damage reduction because, well, yeah, I had the buck list. I have all the defensive items. It's just kind of absurd right now. What do I want to do? Do I want to just go full offense? Maybe not. Maybe I'll. Well, that archer is. Well, Lyneth has already taken some damage, so what I would like to do is I'd like to guard. So the way guard works is normally a ranged attack. If nobody is guarding, then the ranged attack, they get free choice. They can shoot anybody. But if a unit is guarding, uh, if you read very carefully and very literally, it says it specifically. But what happens is if an enemy is guarding, then uh, then a ranged attack cannot hit any unit in the same row or a row behind them unless that without going past that unit. So what happens is priority is first it tries to hit a unit in the front row who is also guarding, and then you can and if none of the units in the front row are guarding, you can hit the front or the back. And then if you hit the back row, well, if there's a unit in the back row who's guarding, but there wasn't one in the front row that was guarding, then you can hit any unit in the front row, or you can hit that unit in the back row who's guarding. But anytime you're guarding any unit who's in the same row or behind you, it cannot be attacked with a ranged attack. So you take the priority, you take the hit, And the only way to remove it is you have to damage an enemy or you have to take damage. Uh, all right, so I think Lyneth, I want to just lunge, so I want to move to the back row. Uh, and just, I think I'll do a basic range attack. This long shot is if you're really worried about damage reflection. Long shot, unfortunately, it's not as good with damage reduction. It doubles the damage reduction, but completely bypasses reflection. So if you're really a glass cannon, it's a safe attack for you. But does uh, in this situation, the enemy that I'm going to attack has very little reflection, so that's not an issue. I want to actually deal damage, so I'm going to do a basic ranged attack. All right, so this life horn. Maybe I don't heal this turn. I feel like I want to get hit for a little bit more damage before I do that. So maybe I'll do a ranged attack, and I could try to kill this backline unit, but because lunge is so powerful, I think I just want to kill the front line. It just depends. With some characters, if I were a pure ranger, maybe the strategy would be I want to kill the backline first. Uh, and how are we doing here? So the archer has already attacked this turn. That's why the action point is gone. So blocking, I don't need to block anymore because they can't hit the back line. The way melee attacks work is the melee attack cannot hit the back line at all unless the front line is empty. And then the guard mechanic, if both units were in the front row, he could hit either. But if Lifehorn is guarding and Lyneth is in the front row, then he has to hit Lifehorn. So maybe I want to anticipate that. So I'll guard and maybe I'll lunge and then I'll do rainbow after I take another hit, and then I'll be in. I know for sure that this knight, even if Lyneth is in the front row, Lifehorn is guarding, so this attack that has to hit the front row, well, it has to hit the unit in the front row who is guarding. So I decided to. That's a very prominent mechanic that's widespread in the game engine, so I chose to denote that with this black border that you just look out for. So let's lunge. So the knight happens kind of fast because there's no animations just yet. I just want to keep it going, but you can check it in the log. The knight hit Lifehorn. Lifehorn is so much damage reduction because I just went completely crazy with every possible available defensive item. It's kind of unfair, but I did it anyway. And what's kind of interesting is that the Knight of Cannon Fodder is so weak right now that I could probably just kill it with a damage reflection, or I could kill it with this Harry attack. It's just either one is about equally viable, but maybe next turn I'd like to lunge, and yeah, the damage reflection did it. So if I make a verbose battle log, you can see it right there. And let's keep going. So probably don't even need to lunge next turn just because, yeah, this turn I'm gonna with the leftover major action point, it's already. I think homing bolt will be. Yeah, nope, not quite. Homing bolt is gonna do like 30-ish. Or yeah, 20, 26, or 25 or so. Uh, but anyway, yeah, we've done it. So there you have it. It's explained a few mechanics. There are a lot more characters. Maybe I'll pick somebody else for the next one. Um, Maybe I can do a late game battle where maybe you can start seeing what happens when you stack multiple souls on the same unit. So that's pretty crazy. So maybe we can see that next time. But I hope this is starting to make more sense. I haven't explained in detail how the initiative mechanic works. That's the most sophisticated and kind of that's if you want to know exactly what the turn order is going to be. It's one of the sort of finer points that there are some edge cases here and there maybe, but it's not the kind of it's a very subtle thing that's maybe not the very first thing that you want to look at. So maybe I'll dive into initiative in the next video. Oh wow, I didn't even use these potions. That's kind of crazy. But let me show you what happens when you use a potion though. Because why not? So you look at how many spirit points I have here. Let's say it's totally pointless, but let's say I use a mana potion. Now I had 14 spirit points, now I've got 18 because I got a spirit point refund on the mana potion, which is for using the mana potion, which is really neat. So it's kind of maybe you want to have a few leftover spirit points just in case you can go shopping and buy potions at some point. But then during battle, maybe you want to burn the potions early if you know it's going to be a tough battle because you want to reinvest instantly into, well, oh hey, uh, I'm going to need more mana and magic, and it looks like I'm going to have to do some more damage with my mage, so I need to even put a point into range this battle, and so it's a pretty interesting dilemma with some long-term consequences, but you can in the heat of the moment invest spirit points. So I think that's pretty cool. I bought all these consumables, but I didn't use them. I guess Lyneth is just way too buff, and Lifehorn is sort of a complete plethora of defensive items equipped. You can even investigate that too in this little side panel, unit info, and then go to items. It's just ridiculous. I've got this basically the royal flush of defensive items. They just never had a chance. But yeah, that's what that's what happens in these games when you get to check off every single item on your wish list. So that's typical. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, hopefully.